Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking, and here is another RPG-themed video. I've been having some fun with these. This is a brand new RPG-themed video. I think this is going to be kind of cool. This is RPG Kickstarter Sound-Off, or I don't really have a good name for it. I'll probably go with a better name when I actually upload this video. But what this is basically it's going to be Kickstarters that I've backed that are role-playing game centric, you know, be they a system or a book or an adventure or whatever. Some of these will actually fit really well into the Great Dungeon Master's Steel things I'm doing, like for adventures and what have you. But sometimes there won't be really something that it really fits into a really good what's I'm looking for here, won't like fit in that category perfectly, you know, and that's what this is today. This is, so I don't know, like just, I don't know, Kickstarter mail call or something. Hey, maybe I'll call it that. I have no idea. But anyway, so this is, where is it? Here, let me dig it out of my, yeah, there we go. All right, so this is something I backed a fair bit ago. This is the Castles and Crusades, the Tome of the Unclean. Now, I backed this on Kickstarter. I'm not going to, these won't be any kind of like a review of like whether or not it was a good idea to back it on Kickstarter, whether it was late or anything like that. If you really want to know anything about like my late Kickstarters or whatever, like watch the weekly Alla Boom. We usually do our Kickstarter roll call of shame at some point during that, and like we talk about the stuff that's super late. But anyway, regardless, this is not about that. This is about Tome of the Unclean. Now this is from, I'm going to probably butcher, but Steven Chenault, I'm guessing Chenault, who is the author and the creator of Castles and Crusades. Now Castles and Crusades has been along, this is going to be a little bit of preamble, so if you want to know about this, just hold on or skip ahead a couple minutes. Castles and Crusades has been around for quite a while. I remember I first got exposed to it at a convention, Con of the North, that I attended, and man, this is like 12, 14, 15 years ago, I'm thinking. I don't remember exactly. I was exposed to it because I took part in a, actually I signed up for an event. I signed up for a Dungeons and Dragons or Castles and Crusades event to take part in. And I remember I played a character by a wizard by the name of Jasper the Magnificent, and it was just kind of a one-shot. We did the Caves of Chaos, you know, the classic Gary Gygax module, but in the Castles and Crusades version, there's only so much you can do in 4 or 5 hours of playing the game. There wasn't ever going to be an extension to it. I was just handed the character and I played. You know, on another note, it was kind of like a knowledge or kind of a moment of like I got to enjoy playing my wife. I don't think she was even my wife at the time. I think she was just my girlfriend, was with me at that time, who later on turned into my wife. And I remember she just watched. I remember she like actually like applauded me when I cast like a sleep spell or something and knocked a bunch of people unconscious, knocked a bunch of goblins unconscious or something. That was like my big moment in the fight. However, I do remember, for whatever reason, Jasper didn't ingratiate himself real well with the rest of the party, and when we made it back after our adventure into the Caves of Chaos, the thief, for whatever reason, stole all my money. I remember being like kind of annoyed by that, but then also I kind of realized, what do I care? I'm never going to play this character again, so who cares what happens? I also, the interesting thing is that I eventually played a Jasper, the wizard, in I think it was a Pathfinder campaign years later. I just really liked the name. I like the name of Jasper. You know, just like, you know, it was, and he actually became he came really powerful, and also that taught me just how screwed up the Pathfinder system is once you get past like that 4th or 5th level, just the level of power that your characters can have. And I don't think I've ever played Pathfinder since then. Maybe Pathfinder 2 fixes it. I'm not in any rush to play that. But anyway, so Castles and Crusades, I played it there, and I've played it since at other conventions as little one-shot things. But I've definitely like not, when I've gone to conventions, I rarely sign up for events anymore. I I don't know. It's usually when I go to a convention, I know there's going to be people there that I know, and those people that I know will just congregate together and end up playing games together, be they RPGs or normal like board games or whatever. So I just don't sign up for events. But that being said, I do think Castles and Crusades is one of the better OSR-esque systems to play in. I think that the designer and the publisher support it very well. Some of the stuff they make is way better than some of the other stuff. It can be a little bit confusing exactly as to which books are important and which books aren't. And also, like, there's some they have a box set of a bunch of adventures that like A1 through A5 and then A6 through A10 or something like that. That's a really good chain of adventures, and if you are interested in just reading some good adventures and being able to play the characters through them, strongly suggest. I do think that the Castle Keeper's Guide, which is basically the DM guide, is a very, very good book. The writer and the designer of this did a very, very good job with this. So I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the Castle and Crusades system. I don't play it, but like I would play it if somebody suggested it to me. And I've said like there's several like OSR-esque systems: Adventure Conqueror King, Castles and Crusades, Swords and Wizardry. Dungeon Crawl Classics I would put somewhere in there, though I think that's kind of its own little skin. Labyrinth Lord is in there as well. Stuff like that. And I think they all have their merits and all have their positives and negatives. Castles and Crusades and Swords and Wizardry are the two that I would play more often than the rest of them. Though I do at some point want to play Adventure Conqueror King. I do want to play that system at some point. But anyway, I'm kind of all over the place here at this beginning. I see by my little timer there, I'm already like 7 minutes in. So I apologize if what you came in here was to talk about or hear my thoughts on the Tome of the Unclean. Alright, so this is one of those books that I was able to back it for basically what MSRP was for this. So I wasn't like backing it to get a discount, if you will. I guess technically I probably did get a discount because if I didn't like buy it, I'd have to pay shipping or whatever and have it delivered. But I backed it just so I could have it, and I backed it so I could support Castles and Crusades because they are, and Troll Lord Games for that matter, because they are continuing to propel like old school revival and old school D&D, something that I think needs to exist in this day and age of like the bigger games out there, and it basically support the stuff that I played when I was young. But anyway, so what the Tome of Unclean is the idea was this was going to be a book that was all about demons and devils, and because certain levels of certain funding levels were hit, then they added more into the book. They added the land of Gehenna, which is the land of the daemons, which are the neutral, evil, otherworldly things, and they also added some undead into this as well, and some flora and fauna. Now, the first two sections on demons and devils are much bigger. The devil section is very expansive compared to the demons as well. But I mean, those are, if they had just had those two things in here, they probably would be good. Now, I was a little bit disappointed because when I found out that Gehenna was going to be here, the Daemons, I remember, God, was it Monster Manual 2? I'm just trying to remember here, but I think Monster Manual 2 introduced the idea of neutral, evil, otherworldly creatures, like planar creatures, and they introduced the idea, and I think they called it Gehenna back then as well. They introduced the idea of neutral, evil, like daemon lords and counts and princes and what have you, and I really, really dug that because I just thought, okay, chaotic evil demons, they're crazy, they just want to destroy the world. Lawful evil devils, they're always trying to bargain or whatever. And then the fact that they actually said, okay, well, we're going to introduce daemons, I was like, oh wow, they're going to actually go back and do this. Now the problem that I have is that the daemon section is super tiny. Now that isn't necessarily a bad thing because I'm sure they just had to, create what they created, right? And have what they have. But I mean, there just wasn't a lot of things. I mean, they did have I'm not gonna show you a lot of pages in here, but I mean they have Karen the boatman. Dayman! Okay, anyway, Boatman. I did like the fact that they put Charon in here, and so, like, traveling the River Styx. And the thing is that Gehenna wasn't ever really supposed to be, like, a massively populated area in any way, shape, or form, but I wish they had actually done more. They'd written more, they'd added more to that section. Because it's only, let me see here, so it goes from pages, Gehenna starts on page... Damon's and Gehenna starts on page 116 and it's over on 123, whereas in comparison you have the Devils, which are page 114, ends on 114, and let me see here, like begins on 52. So you can see massive section on Devils. But if you're a fan of the 9 Layers of Hell and Devils and things, and adding that to your OSR campaign, you're definitely going to have a lot to deal with. And you can guess then, so basically pages like 6 through 51 are the demons. So they get treated pretty well. But there is a section, an extra section of undead at the end that they added in. Which, I mean, that's cool. Here's the Draugr, which is pretty cool. They have the basic undead Vikings there. So I thought that was kind of cool. And these are just things that they added into the book when certain levels of funding were reached. Now, overall, I really like I like the book. I think that more monsters, more things to deal with is always an interesting aspect. This is a book, however, that I think if you're a Castles and Crusades player and you've been waiting for this otherworldly, like the layers of the abyss and the layers of hell, and you wanted to have the creatures that inhabit that and have the stats and have the backgrounds and everything like that, and you could implant those in your existing Castles and Crusades game, yeah, this is a book you've been waiting for, and I strongly suggest that you pick it up. Now, if you are a DM worth your salt, I would say that most likely you probably, if you absolutely positively had to have Orcus or Demogorgon, which are in this book, and that's awesome that they are, as well as like Beelzebub and Asmodeus and so on and so forth. If you were at a situation where you were like, oh, I really wanted to like have those in my campaign, you would have added them already anyway, right? You would have found some stats somewhere, you would have added them in, you would have come up with them on your own. Ultimately, if you are an old school gamer, if you're old like me and you played old school D&D and you still have those books, you probably have a lot of the backgrounds that you already needed as far as this book is concerned. If you're a brand new player and you've never really gone into the planar creatures and you've never picked up any of the other major publishing books that have this, then this might not be something you need. Though it is nice to have, like the exact statistics of the different devils and what have you, and all the favorites in here, and as well as some new ones. I mean, there are definitely some new creatures and some new devils and some new demons that you're going to be able to find within this, and they do a fabulous job of writing out exactly their powers, their beliefs, their thoughts, what layer of the abyss they live in, and they go into actually a pretty good description of the abyss, and for that matter, of the 9 levels of hell, and exactly how those structures work, and what exactly are the the things that make the things work, right? Or like the machinations, if you will, machinations, MACHINATIONS, those things. So it definitely would be worth it. Also, if you play in the setting of Castles and Crusades, which is Erda or Aird, that AI. HRDE, I believe it's spelled. That's the official world of Castles and Crusades. If you play in that world, then they actually do give you background as far as putting the creatures in this world and how they affect the world of Erda or whatever as well. So I mean that's something that I think could help you a lot. So. Long story, even longer. The book is fantastically written. It's got great art. There's no color art, but it's got fantastic black and white art in it. It has great background material for players that may not be familiar with the different levels of like the Abyss and Gehenna and the 9 Layers of Hell. And they also give you some fantastic new creatures. Now, a lot of these creatures obviously are like demon lords and things like that, whose power is exponentially huge. And so your players aren't going to be like going toe-to-toe with them. But there are lots of lower powered demons and devils that you can definitely have the players run into as they sow mistrust and misdeeds and what have you into the world that you have created. So you know, it's one of those things where it's gonna be valuable to you on depending on, you know, and I can't just flat out say, hey, everybody go buy this, it's amazing. This is something that, like, if you're like me, if you're like a RPG book collector, I mean, I had to have it just because I thought it was going to be awesome, and it is awesome. And for $30, this is a really, really good book. It is, let's see, 144 pages, and you know that's a pretty good price for this. And you know, and it's chunky, it's full, and there's a lot of stuff in here that you can glean out of it, and I think you'll like it a lot. So there you go. But like as I said, if you are an old school gamer, this might be kind of a retread of some old material that really isn't going to give you a bunch of like new stuff, if you will. But check it out. There you go. If you have any questions or ideas or whatever about this new series, by all means, you know, post away. I'm only going to do these when I get Kickstarter stuff that I've backed and I get it delivered to me, and then after I've read it and I can give you my thoughts on it. But I back almost everything as far as RPGs are considered on Kickstarter, as long as there's something that I find interesting, or unless sometimes they skip past me. And so that when I get those things, I will definitely show those off, and I'll tell you what is my personal opinion on them. But alright, so as always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. You know, just be the best person you possibly can be. Be the best version of you that you can possibly be. I guarantee you'll feel better about yourself, and the world will be a better place as well if you do it. Until next time, you're awesome. I'm the Undead Viking. You take care of yourself.